Namaskar, welcome to your geography class. We have recently started a chapter number 4 that is entirely about the climate itself. And within our first class, that was prior to this class, within which we have started this chapter, we have discussed the first topic from our chapter that was entirely about the differentiation and identification of climatic and weather conditions of a place, of any region, of an area. In today's class, we are going to discuss about the climatic control factors along with factors affecting India's climate. So you must be thinking the factors that are controlling climate, they are the affecting one also. Yes, you are getting it right, but they are not identically resembling in each other's way, as in there are some common factors that are controlling also as well as affecting also, but not entirely controlling factors comes in the factors affecting the climate. Don't get confused. While we will discuss, entire confusion will be sorted out. So let's start our today's class with the topic of factors controlling the climate. What includes the climate? Basically, temperature and rainfall. Although temperature is the one that affects the rainfall occurring at any place, consider any part of the world. So these are 6 primary, major, significant, prominent, whatever term you suggest, the variety is in front of you. So these are the basic features that controls the climate of any place. Climate is the atmospheric condition of any place for a longer duration, that is almost 30 years. We have already cleared these things in the last class. So there are 6 major controls of the climate of any place. They are latitude, they are altitude, pressure and wind system, distance from the sea, also known as continentality, ocean currents, and relief features. Relief features are also known as physical features, physiogeographic features. We have already discussed the concept of the synonyms of the relief features in the chapter number 2. That was entirely about the physical features of India. So talking about the latitude, altitude and these basic one, let me give you an overview in brief. So this is the diagram of the earth. Not exactly the replica of the earth, but for the understanding part, I think it's good. Talking about the latitudes, I hope everyone still remembers. So these are the imaginary lines running from east to west, west to south, whatever thing is more preferable by you. Thing means I have given you 2 directions, east to west or west to east. This is the eastern direction, this is the western direction. Whatever you can easily remember, kindly learn that. Okay, so going ahead with the latitude part, these are imaginary lines, horizontal lines running from east to west or west to east. This is the introduction of the latitude. Now, how does it affects the climate or controls the climate actually? So, as we move away from the equator, it is equator as well, 0 degree, the largest latitude. So, it forms a greatest circle and the greatest circle all around the earth, covering its circumference. But moving ahead towards how it is a controlling factor. So as we move away from the equator, equator receives maximum sun rays throughout the year. So it remains, the temperature remains high throughout the year at the equator part. But as we move away from the equator in both the hemispheres towards the northern hemisphere, that is the North Pole also, and towards the southern pole within the southern hemisphere. So the temperature reduces. That is how far the location from the equator, the location is going to, or the area or region is going to experience less temperature. And as the location, a region or an area is towards or close towards or closest to the equator, more will be the temperature. Getting towards the altitude part, giving you simplest example. Why it is simplest? Because everyone can easily relate with this example. How so? Why do we visit hill stations within the summers? Because they are cooler as compared to the mainland plains, particularly within the summers. So more the altitude, more will be the less temperature. More will be the less temperature concerns what exactly that the temperature will decrease as the height will increase. Now it's clear. More the height, lesser the temperature, lesser the height, more the temperature, vice versa. Talking about the pressure and winds. So, more the temperature, more the pressure, lesser will be the winds. Simple. Again, these are the formulas has to be learned. More the distance from the sea of any place, more will be the temperature of that any place. Talking about ocean currents, there are majorly two types of currents, warm currents and cold currents. So the region lying nearby the cold currents or the region that is located onto the path where these warm or cold current blows throughout the year within the oceans itself. So from wherever the cold currents used to blow, the regions experiences, the nearby regions experiences the less temperature, and the region where warm currents blows throughout the year, those regions experiences humid, warm kind of temperature throughout the year. Lastly, we do have relief features. So we are straightforwardly jumping onto the example of mountains. So mountains are the basic relief features that affects the rainfall directly, indirectly, and on majority basis. So within the relief features, we can and we have to add up the example of mountain. As mountains does not let the heavy means these are the rain bearing winds carrying moisture within them, and unless that moisture is not being released from the air from that blowing wind, it is not going to get elevated because it has to pass on. So for the passing on procedure, it has to shed its moisture by the foothills of Himalayas. Why am I saying Himalayas? Because this is the proper concept related to our prior chapter also. Over there, I have given you the example of Himalayas in the concern of they don't let the winds pass through it. So that is all about the overview of the factors controlling climate. Now the discussion part or the descriptive part of these individual topics. First of all, latitude. The things will remain same that I have explained you within the overview part. Still, you need some written part for the learning purpose, for the answer writing. So here that is this. Amount of solar energy, amount of heat that is received by the earth according to latitude. So more the latitude is closer to the equator, more will be the temperature. Far ahead, the distance is more from the equator, particularly in the latitudes term, horizontal wise. So lesser will be the temperature, and I have drawn this diagram. So equator and towards the north pole. So less temperature and high temperature. So if this is the latitude, it's going to experience less temperature as compared to the equator. Just a reminder, due to the curvature, this is the curvature feature, as it is the natural formation or natural shape of the earth. So this natural shape, that is the curvature shape of the earth, is also one of the reason. But it is connected to the latitude part only, because as per the latitudes are going ahead towards the North Pole, the curvature is reducing or it is increasing? It is increasing. As a result, air temperature generally decreases. Air temperature, so basically we are talking about the temperature that is going to decrease as we move away from the equator towards the pole. So from the equator toward the poles. So hence proven answer. Next is about the altitude, that is the height itself. So as one goes higher towards the higher altitude, or as one goes up to the higher extent, what happens? Atmosphere becomes less dense. Why so? Because of the gravity of the earth. We know that earth do have the gravity within itself, inside itself. Inside itself, we are talking about that earth have the gravitational part or gravitational pull within the interior of the earth itself, or within the interior of itself, because we have stated the earth at first. So due to that gravity part, whatever molecules are present in the air, they are attracted towards the pull. So what remains in the upper latitudes or at the good height or good elevation or good altitude, less dense air. So this is what is mentioned over here. Atmosphere becomes less dense and temperature decreases. Of course, with the increase in height, temperature decreases. I have already mentioned that. So the hills are cooler during the summer. Given this example as well, I hope it is still remembered. So pressure and wind system. High will be the temperature. Actually, there is a simple formula. Before discussing this entire concept of pressure and wind system, let me give you the simple formula that we are going to discuss ahead also. So this formula is about temperature and pressure. If there will be high temperature, there will be low pressure, and if there will be low temperature, there will be high pressure. And we are talking about the temperature and pressure present in an area. So if there will be high temperature in any region, any area, the pressure will be low, because high temperature is leading to high amount of evaporation. It means more amount of water vapor or more amount of moisture is to be present in the air, that ultimately leads to rainfall. And in such a scenario, winds doesn't move because of the low pressure. But where the pressure will be high, the winds will blow in full speed, or we can say the speedy winds to blow. So low temperature leads to high pressure. So kindly write down, although you can note it down afterwards also. Right now, just pay attention to what I am exactly willing to teach you related to this topic. So please do learn this formula. It's going to help you in the writing part. So the pressure and the wind systems of any area depends on the latitude and altitude of the place. How so? In the terms of latitude, more the temperature towards equator, on the equator. So high temperature will lead to the low pressure. It means either no wind will be there or least winds will blow in this region. Certainly, if we go to the higher latitudes, I am not saying altitudes over here. So we are talking about, again, the diagram towards the North Pole. So as we go away from the equator, in the terms of latitudes, temperature decreases. So less temperature, high pressure, it means the wind will blow in high speed. That is the exact formula's implication onto this statement. Then thus it influences the temperature and rainfall pattern. Similar goes with the altitude part that I have already explained. So I don't want to repeat it once again. You might can feel awkward ki why ma'am is repeating again and again. So I'm simplifying the things. Once I have properly taught you this entire topic of altitude, I'm not going to repeat that again for you. So distance from the sea, another controlling factor. Although it's been clarified to you already, still the sea exerts, gives a moderating influence on climate as due to the presence of the water. So as the distance from the sea, what increases? As the distance from the sea increases, then what happens? Similar goes with the, as the distance from the sea decreases. So vice versa things will be there, as in its moderating influence decreases. So we are talking about particularly the temperature part as well, because what comprises climate, or what are the major factors, features present in the climate? Temperature, then comes the rainfall. So how it's going to affect the temperature? I've already told you, near the water body, whatever area, region is there, this is going to experience moderate climate, neither too hot nor too cold, even more towards the humid part. So humidity will be more in the coastal region. What are the coastal region? Coastal areas, the areas located by the region where water and land meets, coastal areas. For example, beaches. Now you are able to understand properly what are the coastal regions. So as the distance from the sea increases, its moderating influence decreases. People experiences extreme weather conditions. It can be extreme hot, extreme cold, or the moderate mild. That means humidity can be in greater amount. But as we move away from the water, humidity will reduce frequently, and the temperature will be experienced in extreme conditions, either extreme hot or extreme cold, and this is the climatic condition of the northern India, whatever states lies in northern India. I'm not talking about the extreme northern states because these areas, likewise your Ladakh, Jammu, Kashmir, Himachal, Uttarakhand, so these regions are particularly elevated areas situated at higher altitudes. I'm not talking about latitudes part. Then this condition is known as continentality. It means very hot during summers, extreme conditions, and very cold during winters. Just with the images, the curiosity is to be created. So these are the helpful aids. Might be, there are some kids who doesn't feel that much interest within the studies, but such kind of images, they do attract their attention actually and interest as well. So next controlling factor is ocean currents. As I have already told you, and you can see in this image also, this red strip is of the warm current and this blue strip is of cold current. So the regions where these hot, or not exactly to be said as hot, warm current blows, these regions experiences, not the moderate temperature, it remains high, temperature remains high in such a region. So the continent shown over here is Africa, and we know Africa is the only continent from where 3 particular latitudes and major and important latitudes pass through. That is also the reason that Africa continent experiences maximum heat, maximum high temperature throughout the year, and those latitudes are equator along with both the tropics, Tropic of Cancer in the northern part, Tropic of Capricorn in the southern part. So ocean currents along with onshore, by the shore side, winds affect the climate of the coastal areas. How? Told you already, still the description. For example, any coastal area with warm currents flowing past it will be warmed if the winds are onshore. Similar goes in the case of the cold current. So instead of warm, you can replace the warm word with the cold current itself. And again over here, instead of warmed, cold, cooler. That was all about the ocean currents controlling part. Relief features, that is the 6th and the last controlling features of climate. So high mountains, told you mountain is the best example and only example that suits in this relief features part. So high mountains act as barriers for cold and hot winds. Remember the example that Himalayas does not let the heavy winds as they are rain bearing winds, and moreover moisture content remains within the winds nearby the altitude areas. Again, reasons are naturally occurring and geographically, but if I am going to explain that part, your class is going to become lengthy. So we are summing up the thing. In short, they may also cause precipitation because high mountains does not let these winds pass through it because they are carrying moisture content within them, water vapors within them, unless these winds are not releasing, shedding this water content in the form of precipitation. They are not able to elevate and pass through the mountain, not pass through, if they are being elevated, they are going to rise and they are going to, flow from the upside of the mountain. So that is the entire process. So they may also cause precipitation if they are high enough, lie in the path of the rain bearing winds. So I hope now you are getting it that ma'am doesn't give the overview, without rating it with the written part. The leeward side. Now one more concept is there of leeward side and windward side. So summing up again, I'm not going to elaborate in detail. So as we have taken the example of mountain, and here is the diagram also, so things will become more easier for us. This is the direction of the wind. As wind is coming from this direction, whatever direction it is, we don't have to discuss this whether the wind is blowing from east or west direction. Just simply this is the windward side. It means the side from where the wind is blowing towards this part of the mountain. As I've already told you, these winds do contain moisture either in less amount or in more amount. They are heavy. So if they have to rise, if they have to elevate, they have to shed the water content by this windward side. And now the wind has become light, it will rise, it will elevate, and it will pass over this region. But sometimes, somewhat, or I can't say a few amount, I can say some amount of water vapor still remains within those winds. So those winds sometimes is being repeated again and again, but it has to be. So sometimes that somewhat amount of water vapor is shed by the passing wind within this region. So need not necessary that leeward side of the mountain. This side is your windward mountain or windward side of the mountain, and this side is of the leeward side of the mountain. So in the windward side, it will rain frequently wherever and whenever the winds are going to blow. But on the leeward side, either it won't rain or it will rain in least amount. And you can see the tiny vegetations over here. Although these are not that tiny in the actual visual. So that is all about the relief features, how they control the climate of any region, particularly temperature and rainfall. Going ahead with another topic, that is about factors affecting India's climate. Have already told you there are some common features. So among those these are the three: latitude, altitude, pressure and wind. So things are going to remain same, but there are some twists that we have to discuss. So here is the first topic of latitude, as it affects the climate of any region. The Tropic of Cancer passes through the middle of the country. We know it already. Still, the region is with us. It goes from east to west. Again, you can consider east to west or west to east direction. The regions are going to stay there only. So the regions from which it passes through is from the Run of Kutch. It reaches till Mizoram, east part and west part, almost half of the country. So Tropic of Cancer is to be said that is passes through almost from the middle part of India, dividing India into two parts, northern India and southern India. So almost half of the country lying south of the Tropic of Cancer belongs to the tropical area. And the region lying to the north of the Tropic of Cancer experiences what kind of climate? We have to figure out, but let me tell you, subtropical climate region, and the area is known as subtropical area as well. Over here, again, it is the world considered map. Still, India can be seen over here. I have already told you that along with equator, you can see these three lines. So, this is the equator, also known as 0-degree latitude. This is the Tropic of Capricorn within the southern hemisphere and Tropic of Cancer in the northern hemisphere. So, it is passing through almost middle part of India, dividing it into two parts. It means India, northern India and the southern India part. Moving ahead with the same discussion, because we have to discuss about the northern part as well. So, all the remaining area, we are talking about this remaining area, and the states it passes through. A Run of Kutch lies in Gujarat. It also passes through Madhya Pradesh, a bit of part of Chhattisgarh, then Jharkhand, West Bengal, then Tripura and Mizoram. So altogether, how many states? It's a GK question also, so it's good to learn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 states are there. Then all the remaining area lying north of the Tropic of Cancer lies in the subtropics area. So India's climate has characteristics of tropical climate and subtropical climate. That is why Indian climate is considered as, remember from the previous class, how I started the class. I started the class with the introduction of the name referred to the Indian climate. So Indian climate is known as tropical monsoon climate. So from where does the tropical word added to that climate name? From this part. I hope things are clear related to latitude. Told you na, some twisted concern is there in the factors affecting part. Altitude. India has mountains to the north. They are particularly Himalayas. Average height of those Himalayas or the mountains are 6,000 meters. India also have a vast coastal area also. Maximum elevation of that area is 30 meters. So we have completely opposite altitudes given for the mountains and the coastal areas. Mountains are of 6,000 meters height and the coastal areas of just 30 meters of height. So quite obviously, which region is going to experience less temperature? The higher altitude. So maximum elevation is this, the Himalayas. Remember the north part, they block cold Central Asian winds that do comes from the Central Asia part. We are talking about Russia and China part. Although Russia doesn't lies exactly in the central part, but yes, somewhat part of Russia lies in the central part as well. So it gives the subcontinent milder winter. So due to this particular effect, that Himalayas are not allowing cold Central Asian winds entering India subcontinent. So the winter season in India, particularly we are talking about the plains, are not that harsh as it would be if Himalayas were not there. Then pressure and winds are the particularly last topic. You can see warm air and low pressure and wind direction is there. So more the heat, more will be the evaporation, more will be the condensation cloud formation process, and more will be the precipitation part itself. As giving you a simple hint, if there will be no wind, and I'm talking about particularly summer season and rainy season, it means the rainfall is going to occur ASAP, that is as soon as possible. And if the dry winds are blowing with good speed, whether in the colder region or hotter region, it means least chances of precipitation, because how it's going to take place. Climate and associated weather conditions in India are governed by the following atmospheric conditions. What are those? Pressure and surface winds that blows on the surface of the earth, not at the higher altitudes. Upper air circulation. Now we are talking about the higher altitude air circulation. Then cyclones, western cyclonic disturbances that brings the winter rainfall and winter heavy snowfall within the extreme northern part of India, occupying which states? UTs also actually, Ladakh, Jammu, Kashmir, Himachal, Uttarakhand, and the rainfall occurs in Punjab, Rajasthan, Haryana part. Yeah, it spreads up to half of the UP as well. So western cyclonic disturbances and tropical cyclones. So let me tell you what are cyclones. They are naturally occurring disasters. They do take place, or they do originate due to the disturbances in the temperature conditions present in the open water body. Yes, cyclones take place, or cyclones do originate within the open water bodies only. That too, not any I won't say casual, but the general water body likewise lakes, ponds, rivers, no. It does takes place, or they do form, originate within the ocean itself. So western cyclonic, they takes place in the western part of India. I have to consider tropical cyclones in the tropical region. Wherever the tropical region is there and wherever the tropical oceanic part is there, from that part they do originates. India lies in the region of northeasterly winds. Now you must be wondering, what are easterly winds? North, that is the direction. I hope it is clear. So easterly is also the direction, not the entire word, east. So the winds that blows particularly towards the eastern direction throughout the year, they are known as easterly winds. Yes, you are again getting it right. There are westerly winds also. They blow towards the west direction only throughout the year. So they are westerly. So in here we are talking about easterly winds, because India lies in northern hemisphere, and some topics, important topics, are going to be discussed soon, from where you are going to easily obtain the answer ki why India experiences northeasterly winds only, not westerly winds. So these winds originate from the subtropical high pressure belt. So there are certain pressure belts. It means the entire world is divided into certain pressure belts, and on majority basis there are 4 or 5 pressure belts. If you don't remember or don't know, let me help you with that. With the help of a diagram, actually, again I'll make a sweet diagram, short diagram. We know there are 5 major latitudes. Talking about those latitudes, equator, both the tropics, both the circles. So these pressure belts lies in between these regions. So the region occupying the equator and both the tropics, they are also comprising one particular pressure belt. Actually, the equator region comprises equatorial low pressure belt. Then comes the subtropical high pressure belt. Then comes the subpolar low pressure belt. Then comes polar high pressure belt. So there are altogether four. As we don't have to discuss these things for the entire chapter because these things are already discussed with you in your primary classes, not that primary, probably in 6th and 7th. So, I am not going to again elaborate the things in detail. Just for the understanding part, let me rub the board at first. So, getting back to the track, these winds originate from the subtropical high pressure belt. Subtropical region lies by both the sides of the tropics. Whether we are talking about Tropic of Cancer or we are talking about Tropic of which one? Capricorn. So, subtropical high pressure belt of the northern hemisphere. So, within the northern hemisphere, there flows or blows easterly winds, and India lies in northern and northern eastern hemisphere as well. They blow southward from the poles because what kind of temperature is experienced by the poles? Extreme low temperature. Remember the formula I have just given you, 2-3 slides back probably. I don't remember, but still the formula should be with you. Wherever there will be high temperature, the region will experience low pressure. It means no wind or least winds. And if the region is experiencing low temperature, it means high winds. High pressure is there. So, fast flowing or fast blowing winds will be experienced by that region. So, we are talking about that part. So, as the wind always, one more formula to remember, winds always move from or they blow from high pressure to low pressure areas. It means on the earth, of course, with the help of imaginary latitudes, longitudes and other imaginary concepts, from the North Pole, high pressure winds blows towards the equator. Of course, it is going to affect the temperature, altogether climatic conditions of the regions that comes in between. So, they blow southwards, get deflected to the right due to the Coriolis force. Remember the topic I was telling you that there are certain topics that we have to discuss. Now, what is Coriolis force? So, according to this Coriolis force within the northern hemisphere, winds or all the moving objects automatically get deflected towards the right side. And within the southern hemisphere, they automatically, they means all together whatever moving objects that are present in the southern hemisphere. What if we are talking about the ships, the planes, the water along with the wind? So they automatically get deflected towards the left side. Yes, you are getting it right. From the northern hemisphere, I am facing right now you. So consider this as the northern part. So northern hemisphere, whatever moving objects are there, they automatically get deflected towards the right side, and being the southern hemisphere from my back part, they automatically get reflected towards the left side. Got that point? So this is the Coriolis force, also known as Farrell's law. So they move towards the equatorial low pressure belt from the equator part. Generally, these winds carry little moisture, so as they originate and blow over land. So, whatever winds originate from the mainland, they hardly carry water vapor among them or within them. But the winds that originate from the water body, they are comprising water vapor, moisture, because they are originating from the water body itself. So, therefore, they bring little or no rainfall. Hence, India should have been an arid land. Arid means dry land, but it is not so. Reason? India experiences monsoon. Monsoon are the rain-bearing winds that enters India, that brings the arrival monsoon and retreating monsoon seasons in India. So, that was a bit, I won't say it is full of confusion, but yes, it is the topic that should be learned carefully and should be listened carefully. Then only it will be clear to you. Let us see why. Which part we are talking about? Why? Remember Coriolis force? So, we are going to discuss that particularly. So, the pressure and wind, the formula that I just told you, that the winds move from or blow from the high pressure to the low pressure area, everything is included over here. The pressure and wind conditions over India are unique, as in during winter there is a high pressure area because of less temperature. Again, remember the formula. So during winters there is a high pressure area. So high pressure area leads to the fast flowing or blowing winds north of the Himalayas, and cold dry winds blow from this region that are originating from the Himalayas itself to the low pressure areas over the oceans to the south. So two things are mentioned about the pressure and wind system of India, that during winters, fast flowing winds blow onto the India mainland, and during summers, these are not as fast because the winters, if you talk about the winter part itself on India subcontinent, the winds that originate in winters, they are coming from the Himalayas direction. So Himalayas are comprising rocks. There is no water. I won't say exactly there is completely absence of water. Yes, it is there, but not for that part that it should absorb lot of amount of water vapor within it. So these winds are dry. Then in summers, what happens? Low pressure area develops over interior Asia and over northwestern India. Effect is a complete reversal of the direction of wind during summers. Reversal of winds. Remember, we have discussed from the southwest part, the winds blows towards the northeast part. So from the water body towards the land. And in the reversal part, it blows from northeast towards the southwest part. So it means from again land to water. So these are carrying more water vapor, these are carrying less water vapor. This is entire concept. Then air moves from the high pressure areas towards the low pressure area. My formula is implemented over the southern Indian Ocean. These high pressure areas, the areas where exactly the high pressure is experienced, from there the winds are moving towards the low pressure areas. In a southeasterly direction, it crosses the equator, turns right towards the low pressure areas over the Indian subcontinent. So entire things that are written over here are the one that I have just described you. So these are known as the southwest monsoon winds. I've just shown you with the help of arrows southwest monsoon winds. These winds blow over the warm oceans and carries moisture among them and gather moisture, bring widespread rainfall in the mainland of India. Just after the summer season ends, and here are the images shown with the help of these arrows. As by the summer ends, monsoon starts and it enters India mainland from the southwest part, and over here Himalayas are not letting these winds cross it. So what happens? They got reversed either in the other direction, opposite one, and finally they leave India while giving the last rainfall in India subcontinent. Coriolis force, the one that we should understand, an apparent force caused by the Earth's rotation. As we know, Earth rotates on its axis and revolutes around the Sun. Here we are talking about the rotation part only. Due to the rotation of the Earth on its axis, a certain kind of force generates that leads to what part? It is responsible for deflecting winds, but in which direction? Towards the right in the northern hemispheres and toward the left in the southern hemisphere. It is also known as Farrell's law. Things are repeated, so more clearly they can be understood. So that was all about the factors and the factors affecting the climate and the controlling factors that are controlling the climate, quite obviously. Why am I laughing? Because I do think that today's class was a bit hectic for you because there were heavy topics, there were certain formulas that you have to learn. But let me tell you, if you are going to understand the concept discussed in today's class, your future classes are going to be quite easy for you. Particularly, I'm talking about geography subject. So what is the learning outcome of today's class? we have entirely discussed about the controlling factors of climate and factors affecting the climate of any region of the earth. Now is the time to recall the things. So here is the question number 1. Which of the following is not a major climatic control? Remember, whenever not comes in the question, read it carefully, consider it as well. Because if you are not going to consider not that is written, your answer can be completely wrong. So kindly read it and consider it. So latitude does affects altitude too, ocean too. So what remains at the back? And authentically, population density is not the climate controlling factor. Talking about what we have discussed out of this. Next question. Which geographical feature prevents the cold winds of Central Asia from entering India? The Himalayas itself. Other than that, deserts, ghats and plains, they are not such kind of features, because we have discussed about the certain relief feature that was mountain, and that are mountains itself. Last question. Which of the following statements are about the Coriolis force? And that is correct itself. So it deflects wind towards the left side in the northern hemisphere? No. And we have to look for the word right over here. So it deflects winds towards the right in the northern hemisphere. That is the answer. So I hope this is sufficient for today's class. See you soon with the next class, with the next topic, but from the going on chapter number 4 only. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.